Lesson 6 is about troubleshooting. So we have these objectives. After completing this lesson, you should be able to locate major Oracle VM logs and discuss their usage. Also execute commands to examine the status of the major components of the Oracle VM. Describe the use of the VMP Info 3 and the source report tools. Also how to configure keydump for the Oracle VM servers. Configure net console for the Oracle VM servers when the, for example, VNC functionality is not available with the Oracle VM Manager. Produce core dumps for virtual machines. These are useful files that are being used by the Oracle support engineers, and access the serial console for the Linux guys. How to learn how to configure all of these steps. Well, the lesson overview, you have these different topics, and in addition to this, we have multiple sections that we're going to describe all of these tools. So you learn to use tools to help you to examine the environment when it is running normally. It's important to you to perform some kind of introspection on these files to try to find out which are the typical messages that you get when you perform the typical actions administering your Oracle VM infrastructure. But in addition to this, also is to detect problems that disrupt the normal operation, problems that you have with servers, with the Oracle VM server, with the Oracle VM servers working with classes server pools and non-classes server pools, working with repositories, working with iSCSI or Fiber Channel LANs, working with virtual machines, and issues that should arise when you are working with the Oracle VM Manager. These tools include log files, very important. They are located in the Oracle VM Manager host and the Oracle VM server. So you learn different locations to find the different logs with different names and different contents depending on what exactly the information that is logged into these files. Also commands to examine the status of various components. It's important to know that each component is identified with a unique universal identifier. So most of the log information that is recorded in these log files or the output of some of these commands show us this object's information based on this unique universal identifier. So we are able to identify these entries in the output of these commands, and also these entries that you have in the log files to identify for which server, for which repository, for which LAN the message is related to. And the procedures, tools to gather troubleshooting information or to format log files. Well, usually the log files produce information that is not human readable. So we have tools that help you to collect multiple information, to summarize this information, and to produce information that is eligible for you. And procedures that prepare your Oracle VM servers to provide services such as memory dumps, very useful for Oracle support to help you to investigate them, which is the cause of an issue in more detail, and remote logging capability that helps you to perform some kind of monitorization of the activity, or maybe get log remotely to the host or the VM to perform additional troubleshooting or to try to investigate, looking for additional files. Well, about finding information about errors, you see that the environment is very complete about it tried to log information in multiple different components, multiple different locations. So you can find information to help you solve errors conditions in the following location. Oracle VM Manager logs. You have different logs for accessing, logs for the logic domain in with the Oracle VM Manager core Java application is running, logs for the Oracle VM core Java application activity. Also the Oracle VM Manager jobs details. So anytime that you schedule an administration task using the Oracle VM Manager user interface or the CLI, all of this information is scheduled, all of these tasks is scheduled as a job. So it's very important to get the details of the job to help to know if the job is being executed successfully, or if you have a kind of failure, try to identify which is the cause of the failure, right? Also, Oracle VM Manager events. These are internal events that the manager tried to record when is putting in contact with some of the components, Oracle VM servers, Oracle virtual machines, for example, repositories, the X86 Fiber Channel SAN servers, the NFS servers, that's right, and so on. And finally, the Oracle VM server logs. Each server also has a specific directories with specific files to help you to identify if the server has any kind of issue about working with devices, or for example, having issues with the server pool file system, and the server is part of a cluster server pool. In addition to this, you have problems or issues with the virtual machines that the server is managing, is controlling, and so on. What about the first of all, the Oracle VM Manager job details? We have here those two examples. Basically, the job details, as you know, you have the option with the Oracle VM Manager web interface, user interface. I showed you before in previous lessons how to, for example, do it how to get access, how to click on the details button and close to the job. And for example, you get information much like this. In the first example, you get an error about cannot release ownership of the repository, because in this case, you see that we have virtual disk, the HVM1 underscore VDISK3 on the HVM1 and this virtual machine that is still assigned to, for example, VMs in place that has been configured files in another repository. So it shows us that we cannot release because the repository has dependencies with objects that are or pertain to another virtual machine. And the example 2, okay, you get a message about cannot perform this operation, the repository must first be refreshed. This is, for example, typically when you restore a repository and it detects that the state of the repository is of a previous time, of a previous date, is not updated. So this is why you need to refresh the repository before trying to take any action or administration tasks. You see that each error or job detail in the error in the job details comes with a message, the OVMRU, for example, underscore, and a code. So also you have the option to copy this error message and to paste, for example, the Oracle support website to try to identify more detailed support notes that comes with exactly the cause of the error, the workaround, how to fix up this error, and maybe some other tools that help you to investigate better which is the cause and try to solve the problem. Well, about the Oracle VM Manager events, you know that we have in the perspective drop-down list section for each of the components: server pools, servers, virtual machines, repositories, storage, arrays, NFS servers, and so on. All of them has this perspective drop-down list option, the events. So in the events, you have messages that show us mainly, for example, if it's a message that is informational, the manager try to put in contact with each of these components and show you that something has changed or something has been modified or any action has been taken, right? So it shows us that it was informational, that this action was successfully executed or implemented. But some others appears in red, it's critical. Some means that you need to put attention on these critical messages to try to find out, investigate what's the problem. Where in this case you have critical events, for example, because you see in the left side of this screen of this slide, there are two icons that are associated with the Oracle VM server. The red icon, the top, indicates that the server is offline. This is maybe because you shut down the server executing the shutdown -h command, for example, manually, but you don't shut down the server using the Oracle VM user interface or the Oracle VM CLI console. And the red icon with a white X sign at the bottom indicates that the server is in an error event associated with this server. So you see that, for example, this red icon with the white X sign is help us, for example, for this specific component to move to the events perspective to get this information. Well, you will see that also each event, if you use the scroll bar to view the acknowledged and the user unreadable columns, you will see, for example, the event was a transitory event that, for example, the user is able to acknowledge manually with the acknowledge button or user acknowledgeable button, right, or not. For those that you are not able to acknowledge manually, means that you need to be able to solve the problem before, and after that the manager automatically will change the status from critical to informational. But for some others that were critical, but that the manager automatically detect that was be able to be solved, okay, you have the option to acknowledge manually and to change from critical to informational. What about the Oracle VM Manager logs? These are the three main log files. The access.log. This is, as you know, we run the manager in a WebLogic server. The WebLogic server implements the HTTP protocol to help us to get access remotely using the console to the different interfaces, the different sections in the console page, to help, for example, to work with servers and VMs, to work with subpools, to work with storage, networking, and so on. So you use this log to track HTTP access to the web interface of the Oracle VM Manager. So it's similar to the access log that comes with, for example, the Apache web servers, the typical HTTP web servers, right? Well, it's for example, implement some kind of auditory to log exactly the activity. The other one is the admin server.log. This is the most useful log to track activity in the Oracle VM Manager because it also tracks, for example, scheduled tags in the manager. When you, for example, has a backup file rotation, also tracks any action that you take that you send to the server, to the manager, much like, for example, discovering a server, or for example, cloning a virtual machine, that way, and so on. So it's the most useful, most important, because all the actions, all the activity that is performed using the manager, the Oracle VM Manager core Java application logs information in this admin server.log functionality. And the admin server does diagnostic.log. This log tracks exception in the underlying WebLogic framework. So this is for, you see, for diagnostics is where you, for example, get Java stack errors, and typically it was useful for the Oracle support engineers. What about the logs that you have? You see that it produces a lot of different logs. Also, it rotates them when they reach a size. So you typically has the name of the log files in the previous slide, but also you have the same name but ended with a number or multiple files with a digit. That is the sequence of the different times that the file was rotated. So it's difficult sometimes to deal with tens or hundreds of files. So we have a tool, which is this one, ovmlogtool.py, that help us to view the contents and to check information that is useful for you for debugging any kind of problem. So about manipulating the Oracle VM Manager logs with this tool, it's a tool that you see is a Python script. So it has the option to, for example, generate a full format listing with this command python ovmlogtool.py -o full. What it does is to collect all the log files, and it produces a single file with this name. This is the output file, which name is full. Also, you could create a summary using the default internals filter. Well, it comes with a filter, with a properties file that it includes exactly which are the different events or entries in the log files that they are going to be extracted from all the log files and to be placed into this output file. So in this case, if you provide the -o summary, what it does is to capture all the default internal errors based on these default internal filters, and it produces a summary file. You have the option to edit the file and to specify or to comment, for example, which are the options that you want to produce by default. Also creating a formatted listing using a filter file. In this case, you use the -F option. In this case, in this properties file, if you provide the -F option, what it does is only to capture log entries related to this type of, for example, events or failures. In this case, we filter only the exceptions. So exception events are only captured, and these exception events are saved into this output file, the exception listing file. Well, you have the option to get additional information for this tool. I will show you later in a support note. And also tailing the active log file, you have the option to use the -T option with this Python OVM log tool.py. With this one, it's easy, for example, to you to perform an interactive session in which you are viewing in real time any log information that is logged, is recorded, and in addition to this, you could perform dynamic search in this dynamic output. Well, you use Control-C, for example, to exit. Well, so this tool, if we go to the support website, to support.oracle.com, so I have performed a search before. We have this support note, how to use the utility OVM log tool.py to review the Oracle VM manager logs. So this is the doc ID 1535748.1. Here you see that it's for the latest releases and is for investigating through the Oracle VM manager logs. So you have in this section where it's installed, you see that it's part of the installation process. So in the U01 IPP Oracle OVM Manager 3 OVM Shell Tools is where you have this. Also here in the OVM Shell Tools is where you have the properties file, the log filter properties file. So you see it's about the contents of these property files, what you want to include, which strings, or to exclude which strings from the output file that you produce with this tool. It looks for in all the files for the Oracle VM Manager. And the options that we have for the OVM log tool, you see the -T option with detail, the input-output file to get a summary, right, or filter based on this file. And you have very nice examples. In addition to this, okay, we have some other related support notes. Well, this is about Oracle VM Manager. For the Oracle VM servers, we also have different logs. So the main log is called obs-agent.log, and this is located in the var log directory in each Oracle VM server. You see that this is the log maintained, and the information is logged by the OBS agent process. So you can easily, for example, follow the steps for each operation. With your Oracle VM Manager user interface or the CLI, you perform any action on the server, you know that the manager, this VM Manager core application, Java application, put in contact with the OBS agent and take the action. So this is for any action that you send remotely to the server using the agent. The agent logs information about the status and the progress and the final execution, or for example, the failed execution of these tags. So for example, you see rediscovering an Oracle VM server, okay, the agent logs in this file all of these different steps, okay, that are related to discovering network, to discovering the hardware, okay, processor model, and so on, to discovering LANs, and so on. Well, the log entries for the virtual machines, because the Oracle VM server executes the VMs, the also Oracle VM server log contains information about the virtual machines that are started up, shut down, or for example, error conditions that should appear. In addition to this, remember the agent send the request to the send hypervisor to start, stop, or for example, if the send hypervisor has any kind of error, also, okay, the send hypervisor has its own log file. So this is the typical directory, the var log shen, in which the send hypervisor logs different information in different files. Well, the top files are here, the shen daemon.log. This is for any kind of action that you take for the VMs that it managed. Well, at the end it uses the xm command, much like create, much like destroy, array and so on, or shut down, depending on the action that you take from the Oracle VM Manager user interface. You send the command to the OBS agent, and the agent is, in this case, use the XM tool to put in contact with the send daemon to take the action. So if you have any kind of issue, you will get information log in this file. Also, send daemon dash debug contains additional information, but in debug mode, so it's much like for support engineers in more detail about what is happening. Also, the send as hotplug.log, for example, when you connect a new network interface or you connect a new storage device, it shows us information about what is happening in this file, right? And the keymo dash dm, you see that we have the domain name .log. So each domain U, remember domain U's are the Oracle virtual machines that you create in the Oracle VM infrastructure, and that you start in this server. So with the XM list, you have a column in which you get the ID. Okay, you know that this random seed generate ID that is a long string. That is difficult sometimes to do, so this is why with the XM list helps you to identify which is the virtual machine. Remember, you can match this information with the Oracle VM Manager in the info perspective option of the virtual machine. And the keymo so as, for example, if you have any kind of issue working with LANs or working with virtual disk, okay, with this virtual machine, for the specific virtual machine. So helps you also to debug if there is any kind of problem why you cannot mount virtual disk or LAN in the virtual machine, why it's not accessible or something like this. Well, we have a quiz about which statements are true about the various logs available in your Oracle VM environment. Well, the Oracle VM Manager provides several logs, all located in the U01 app Oracle OVM-manager-3 domains, OVM_domain servers, admin server logs directory. That's true. You use the OVM log tool.py tool to examine OVM server log files. That's false. Remember, the OVM log tool.py tool is to examine the log files, but for the Oracle VM Manager, not for the Oracle VM servers. The bar log messages file in each Oracle VM server is an important source of information for storage and networking events. That's true. At the end, the Oracle VM server is a Sun Linux operating system. So, such as a Linux operating system, any device event that happens for storage networking is logged into this file, right? Also, the message is a nice utility that works with this. You can find useful troubleshooting information for virtual machines in the shell logs located in the Oracle VM server where the virtual machine is running. And that's true. Okay, remember the send daemon log, the send daemon dash debug log. For example, the keymo dash md dot the domain name, the domain ID dot log file. That right, and so on. Well, and that's all for the first part. For the second part of this lesson, the Oracle VM Manager database, you know that we have a repository in which we catalog all the information for the different components of the Oracle VM infrastructure. Well, the components managed by this Oracle VM Manager. Concretely, okay, so it's a MySQL enterprise database, so we need to have exactly the same best practices and the same skills for example, monitoring and troubleshooting information in the database. So for the MySQL database, the database files reside in this directory, U01 app Oracle MySQL data. There you have a file which is called mysqld.error. So help us to debug if, for example, we have any kind of issue starting up or shutting down the Oracle VM Manager database. If, for example, there is some kind of corruption or there is some kind of problem and so on. In the next lesson, you will learn how to back up and restore the database if it's needed, trying to deal with this kind of problem of issues. Well, about checking the status of the Oracle VM Manager databases, in addition to looking for information in this mysqld.error log file, okay, we are able to connect to the MySQL Enterprise database. Well, during the installation of the Oracle VM Manager software, you need to provide a password, and this password is being used for the admin user. And in addition to this is a password that is being used for the WebLogic Super Administrator Java server, and also is the password being used for the OVS schema or account for the MySQL Enterprise Manager Enterprise Edition database, right? So we need to connect to the database with this OVS account. Also, there is another one, APPFW, but the most important is the OVS. So the way that you connect with the OVS account is the MySQL OVS. We use a socket location that is different than the typical location for the local connection in the MySQL database. So this is why we need to provide with -s in uppercase the socket location split is U01 app oracle MySQL data mysqld.sock, and with -u you provide in this case root, and with -p we provide the password, right? So the password, I repeat, is the same password that you specify during the the Oracle VM Manager software installation. Well, the OVS is the schema, is the database, and we have a super administrator, which is root. So one of the typical commands is the status. Basically, is to check that the server is running. Also, you get the information about the version of the MySQL server engine. Also, you get information about, for example, the uptime, which is the Unix socket, the local connection information that you use. And after that, you could show the tables and so on. You will see that the tables you cannot modify, only is for informational purposes, but most of them comes with multiple columns, and there is a column that is in large object format. It's much like an XML document, that binary format that it contains exactly all the information related to all the metadata information related to all the different components. So when you create a new network in the networking types, for example, when you discover a new NFS server, so when you create a new X86 repository, when you discover VM servers, when you create new server pools, when you create new virtual machines, you upload templates, all of this information is logged in these tables in this OVS schema. Well, next point of attention to debug troubleshoot is the OCFS file system. As you know, we work with these file systems in the Oracle VM servers. Anytime that you create a repository, an X86 or fiber channel based repository using LUNs with these technologies, we format their repository using the OCFS file system. Also, when you create the local repositories in a server, also we use the OCFS file system, and this file system is used in the creation of the server pool file systems. As you know, is where you store the catalog information for the cluster. When you have the voting disk, where you, for example, store the kill block for the cluster algorithm, which is called the disk herbit, the array, and so on. So we have the option to use this tool because each server has the mountd.ocfs2 utility. With -d, you are able to list, for example, the different devices. Each entry of each device has the device path with the dep / and the ID for the device, or the name of the device. And in addition to this, you have another entry for each device, which is the dep mapper, and a specific ID for this device, right, for these LANs. Well, also you will see the stack, so means that O2CB means that it's a device that is being formatted and being accessible by the OCFS stack or libraries. In addition to this, you have a unique universal identifier. You will see that it has the same universal unique identifier, the device name, than, for example, the device mapper name that corresponds to the same LUN. Also, for the label, it's easy to identify OVS pool file system with others. So it means that this is a server pool file system, or, for example, is a device that is being used for a repository. In addition to this, you have the cluster Okay, so for cluster, typically you have an ID, meaning that this pool file system is a separate pool file system for a specific cluster, or for example for others, right? And not in use mean that this device is not being part of a cluster separate pool. So means that, for example, you should be able to use in another cluster separate pool if you want to do it so. Well, in addition to that, you need to deal with some issues or problems. For example, you have the way to check the status of the OCFS stack, the health check on the Oracle VM server. First of all, with the dex3, the df-h, you should be able to list these devices and device mappers. So you have, for example, for pool FSMNT, this is the main point, means that this is a separate pool file system, and for the OBS repositories means that this is a device that is being used to be created a repository. In addition to this, you have multiple services. One of these is the O2CB and the other one is the OCFS2. So with the service tool, you are able to check the status. You will see that the O2CB, you need to be online. Also show us, for example, if the herbit is active or not, which is, for example, the separate pool file system, the device that is being used. And in addition to this, for example, the numbers in the cluster, okay, the number of servers in the cluster. In addition to this, starting by an index of 0 for the first one, 1 to the second one, and so on. And in addition to this, you have the file system check. So you have fsccheck.ocfs2, that is a tool that helps you to identify, for example, if there is some kind of corruption, why the VM server is not able to mount. And in the next lesson, you will learn, if this happens, for example, how to restore a separate pool file system. Well, important files on the Oracle VM servers. First of all, to know about the release of the Oracle VM server software for X86. In the etc directory, you have the obs-release. Also, you have the obs-info that show you more detail, which is the same version and additional information about the server. Also, each OVM server has a local database. This is a Java database, it's internal, and these are Java databases stored as DB files. So in the etc obs-agent DB directory, you have the export database, you have the repository database, and you have the server database. Well, in the export is where do you store all the different NFS mount points that you have created. In the repository, you store information about all the different repositories that you have present to this server or that they're available. And in the server file, you have information about, for example, the virtual machines that are at this moment associated to, for example, this server. Obviously, these databases are Java databases, are in a binary format. You cannot read with, for example, typical text tools. So to display the contents, we provide a tool, which is the obs-agent-db with the dump_db command. So you provide the file name, export, repository, server, and you go to an output similar to the output that you have in this slide. So help you to get information about, for example, the repository name, which is the mount point, the version, which is the file system or the device that is associated, which kind of file system is used, OCFS2 or NFS, that's right, and so on. Well, the same, for example, for export, the same for the server. You get a human readable output. Well, for example, the server pool file system. Remember, this is a shared LAN that is formatted with OCFS file system, with this cluster file system. Also there, when I say about that you have the metadata information of the cluster, means that also you have DB files. So also you have these Java DB files. To get access to this DB directory, you need to go to the mount point for this server pool file system. Remember, it's /pool fsmnt/ and the ID of the server pool file system, and after that /db. And there you have files similar to the previous slide, but containing information specific for the cluster. So you have monitor_VMs, you have server pool_pool, and server_pool_servers. So for monitor_VMs, show you information about the VMs that are part of this cluster server pool, and they are started, stopped, which is the status. Server underscore pool show you information about the server pool, which are the servers that are members of the server pool, and in the server underscore pool underscore servers you get more detailed information about the servers. What to display the contents, again, because these are Java databases, so they are not stored in human readable format, in text format, in plain text format. They are stored in binary format. You use the obs-agent-db dump underscore db, and -c you provide the name. So in this example you list, or you get information about the server pool servers. So you get which is the number, the node ID, the number, which is the IP address, the management. For example, you could get the roles, if it's utility. Is it also, for example, Oracle VM role for executing virtual machines, that's right, and so on. Well, in addition to this, remember each component has a unique universal identifier, so you could get storage information from the Oracle VM Manager user interface. This typically in the perspective information for example, physical disks, much like in this screenshot. If you expand the LAN, you will see, or you get information, for example, which is the ID assigned by the Oracle VM Manager. For example, which is the iSCSI inquiry ID used by the device mapper. For example, which is the absolute path of the location of the disk. In addition to this, the storage target as assigned by the iSCSI server or the repository present on this LAN. With all of this information, you see you have different IDs. So, for example, most important, the ID for the LAN. With the command line interface, you have, for example, show physical disk, and you could provide the ID, or if you want, okay, you have the option to provide a name. In addition to this, you need to look for in the previous logs about any kind of issue, okay, you need to look for in this. Also, when you have a failure with the other about the absolute path, or for example, which is the SCSI inquiry ID, or for example, which is the iSCSI target, or something like this, is very important for you to know, to be able to debug this in the other side, for example, in the iSCSI server, right, and so on. Or if you have a problem with the absolute path for the SCSI inquiry ID in the Oracle VM server. Well, to display storing information of the Oracle VM server. So you have issues with the storage, for example, about NFS. Okay, if you have in the VM servers mount NFS shares from an NFS server, you have the show mount --- export, and you can provide the NFS server ID or the host name. In this case, you use this command to display list of all the exported shares to help you identify why or why not. All right. With block ID, BL key ID, you use this command to quickly determine the usage for block devices. If, for example, you attach only one, if this is automatically recognized by the Oracle VM server operating system or not. If you work with multipath, as you know, multipathing needs to be implemented manually. You cannot implement multipathing using the Oracle VM Manager utility. But after you that, for example, multipath gives you the option to implement two paths, different access paths to the same LAN. In this way, typically the access paths are active-passive, so if one of the paths gets filled, what it does is automatically activate the other. So you need to use this command to display which are the paths to the iSCSI launch, for example, or to the fiber channel. Well, be careful with multipath, because if you omit any option, what it does is try to typically to implement the multipathing, right? So the best recommendation is to use multipath with the -L or -LL option. Obviously, you have any kind of issue accessing to iSCSI or fiber channel LANs, you use this tool with multipathing. Also, it shows us, for example, if a path has failed. So, for example, show you faulty failed or not. If you work with iSCSI, you know that you need to connect with the iSCSI server. The iSCSI server offers you the LANs as targets. So you have initiators in the Oracle VM servers that automatically get access to these targets and mount. Better say that mount get access to these devices, right? So with the iSCSI -M mode, you can use this command to get exactly which are these iSCSI targets from the other server. For example, if the server is not available, you have no output from this command, helps you to identify this. Or if, for example, a target has any kind of issue in the iSCSI server side, also this node, this -m node information omits these targets, right? Remember that you, for example, when you work with X86 servers, you discover, and after that you need to provide the IP, you need to provide an admin account if it works with an admin account, and also you need to identify the X86 storage initiators. Okay, you need to identify which are these to let you to get access to the different LANs behind these targets. Well, with X86 multipathing and the Oracle VM server, as I showed you before, with multipath -LO, you get an output like this one. Well, in this example, you see that we have two paths, and one is faulty, so this means that this path has failed, and also the other one is active ready, so means that this other path is active. So help you to identify this, help you to put in contact with the storage system administrators and try to solve the problem, because if the second path fails, you cannot view the LAN, so it should be active, for example, for a repository or a virtual machine that is using the LAN, that way and so on. Well, about the Oracle VM server health check, if the Oracle VM server is part of a cluster server pool, you need to make sure that the server pool file system is mounted. What to do is show you learn tools much like previous one, mounted.otfs2 with multipath, for example, if the LAN has implemented this, also BLKey ID for the block ID devices that run and so on. Also display the OBS-agent service status. Remember, any action that you take from the Oracle VM Manager user interface, CLI, or with web services, APA, you send the command to the agent. So the agent need to be ready, need to be running. The agent has multiple different components for example, statistics, that run and so on. So you need to be able to view all the different sub-processes and the main process of all the agent running. Also, you need to display the O2CB service status for a cluster server pool. It's about that the O2CB, the OTFS stack is running, that the modules has been loaded to be able to work with the OTFS file system, that the members in the cluster are running and ready, and so on. We need to check the list of running virtual machines. You have the option to do so using the Oracle VM Manager, user interface, the CLI, or for example, the XM command when you connect to a specific Oracle VM server, and run the BMP Info3 tool. Well, for this tool, you will get now additional information about gather through the troubleshooting information. Well, we have developed this tool to capture this troubleshooting information, and you see that it's mainly useful for Oracle support engineers. So you run this tool from the Oracle VM Manager. Okay, it helps us to what this tool is to execute additional tools that are, for example, source report and many others. That what it does is to get debugging information at the operating system level, and also not only for the manager, it connects with the different servers and also obtains this information, and per server for the virtual machines, right? So this tool is located in this directory, U01 app Oracle OVM-manager-3 OVM_tool support directory. And well, for example, to know how the tool works, you have this command, bmpinfo3.sh-help. You also have the option to list all the Oracle VM servers that you have with bmpinfo3.sh /username equal admin. You need to provide the password, list servers, and to run the tool for a specific Oracle VM server. Remember, you run from the manager, but you get information for one or multiple servers. You have the option to invoke this other command, bmpinfo3.sh /username equals admin to connect with the manager, and servers equals to a comma separated list of value of the servers. Well, at the end, what it does is to produce a report. This is a web report in which you have multiple sections. You have directories and files containing output of this source report utility. Okay, it executes multiple commands. In addition to this, you see below that, for example, you have directories that are related to all the different sections. Well, it's important to know that the source report directory this directory is created and compressed, and it contains a lot of different files that provide information about this. When you select one of these directories, you navigate to another section, and you are now viewing, for example, the source report for the obsvr01.example.com Oracle VM server. Well, the directory contains commands that are executed by the source report, much like, for example, about the bootloader, the base mapper, for example, hardware, it extracts information about the hardware, for example, about OCFS 2 and OVM3. These are for Oracle VM specific plugins. That's right, and so on. Well, to let you know more on this, you have also in the knowledge another support tool, which is this one, which is the VMP Info 3 diagnostics tool for Oracle VM 3.3, 3.2, 3.4 troubleshooting. This is the doc ID 1521931.1. And again, it shows us, for example, a description. You see that it works with the source report utility. And in addition to this, you see it's a tool for capturing messages, sound daemon logs, the message output, OBS DOS agent logs, and XML models, for example, that you have in the DB Java files, as I showed you before, and other information for the manager and servers. Well, it's already installed with these versions, and it shows us, for example, the way you provide the username and password. In addition to this, for example, how to list the servers, how to get information for these specific servers, okay, and the output that you should get. That's right. Also, it shows us that the file was uploaded here. Okay, so you need to be able to find a way to upload to support website, or for example via sftp.oracle.com. You have also a note that makes reference about how to do this, right? So also use this note, all right? And also you are working with previous versions of Oracle VM server, also how to use this utility. Well, another very important way to troubleshoot is when you are not able to identify the cause, or the Oracle support engineer is not able to identify the cause with these, for example, VMP Info 3 report, for example, with the OVM tool log Python script, that right, or connecting to your host and getting information. You know that we need to be able to create a kernel dump, the key dump for the Oracle VM server. So the key dump is the Linux kernel crash dump mechanisms. What it does is basically to dump the memory, the dirty page memory that the server has at this moment, into a file, right, or into a partition. So if your system crashes, the key dump creates a memory image, which name is VM core, of your systems. You can enable the key dump at installation time, during the installation of the Oracle VM servers, or at a later time. And when you configure in key dump, you reserve a portion of system memory for use by the key dump implementation, and this memory is not available for other users. Also, you can manually configure key dump and its associated service after the installation. Well, for configuring key dump at a later time, we have these steps. These are summarized in this slide. You get more details in the notes page of this student guide. So you need to reserve memory in the boot group.com file for the key dump operations, and you need to reboot. After that, you need to set the location for the VM core in the etc keydump.com file. For example, you could specify a device with this one, or for example alone and this other. We prepare the key dump partition on the select disk. We enable the key dump service to start at boot time, and also you have the option to start the service manually, and we test the key dump. To do this, okay, we force a system crash, and after reboot we verify that the VM core file has been created. Well, the key dump is Linux functionality, so you have a lot of reference about working with key dump in the internet, right, and also in the Oracle Linux documentation, because this is a Zen Linux server, right? Well, also we have another tool, which is the Neat console for capturing panic messages. Well, panic messages, as you know, appears a kernel panic and the system typically crash, right? But before doing so, we have the option with the Neat console to forward, okay, the panic message to another server, a remote server. So it's a kernel module that forwards kernel log messages over the network to a remote host. So we need to configure the remote host, and we need to configure the Net console functionality in all the Oracle VM servers. So the Net console service activates the Net console module, and we use the net console service to debug kernel panics. Well, to set up the net console, we need to configure and activate the net console service on your Oracle VM servers, and also configure login on a remote host to accept messages from the net console module on your Oracle VM server. Well, typically this net console remote server, it uses rsyslog, this functionality. Also, you have detailed steps, okay, for configuring in the notes for this slides in the student guide, but we summarize in this way. First of all, configuring net console for the Oracle VM servers. So on your Oracle VM server, you configure an app log level for kernel messages. Do we show editing the kernel.conf file? You edit the x86 conf net console file. So you select the network interface for sending log messages, and you specify an IP and a MAC address for the remote host, the server that is running the rsyslog process. You set the net console service to start at boot time by using the checkconfig command. If you set up the net console on the remote host, the remote server that will receive these panic messages that are logged on the host at the remote location, if the firewall is enabled, you need to open the 514 ports for the UDP and TCP protocol, and you configure the rsyslog in the etc rsyslog.conf file to receive the messages from the remote locations as instructed in the notes for the student guide. You restart the servers, and you test, for example, by sending kernel messages from the Oracle VM server to the remote host. And this is the end for the second part. Starting part 3 for this lesson about troubleshooting. Also, the same way we are able to implement key dump in the Oracle VM servers, we have the option to implement something similar in the virtual machines, because in the virtual machines you have a guest operating system that also produces kernel panics, and you want to send this previous information before the kernel panic to Oracle support. These are the core dumps for virtual machines. Well, we have different ways if we work with an Oracle Linux kernel than, for example, a Red Hat compatible kernel for the Oracle VM virtual machine. For HVM or PVHVM guests running Unbreakable Enterprise kernel, or for any other PVM guests, we need to edit the virtual machine's configuration file and change the on crash setting. You have multiple options: destroy, restart, preserve, narrow, and so on. Well, the most important and destroy, core dump dash destroy, and core dump dash restart. Core dump dash destroy in which, for example, the virtual machine crash is shut down, right, abruptly. And core dump dash restart is when the VM is restarted automatically. That's right. So we need to do this, and after that we need to restart, we need to edit this file, and after that we need to restart the guest. So if a crash occurs, a VM core file, you see similar to the key dump implementation, is created in the version dump and the unique universal identifier of the virtual machine directory. For guests that are running a Red Hat compatible kernel or IC keys with, for example, Oracle Linux 6.3 or newer, you need to configure key dump in the guest. Well, it's something similar to doing show in the Oracle VM servers, but because these are SAN servers, you need to get access to the documentation. You will see that in the Oracle Linux administrator guides, you get how to do a show as structured in the notes for this lesson in the student guide, for this slide in the student guide. Well, also you are able to trigger a core dump manually. To do a show, because the XM utility manage the virtual machines, okay, you can trigger a core dump for a virtual machine that is running on any Oracle VM server. For all the guest types, we use the XM dump-core and the domain ID command from the Oracle VM server where the virtual machine is running. The core dump file is created by default in the version dump directory on the Oracle VM server where the virtual machine is running. You see it's exactly the same location. And to do show, you have the XM dump-core, the ID of the domain of the virtual machine, and you provide, for example, the way to specify a different directory, an alternate directory. If not, by default, you see we use the var shen dump. Another very important way is, for example, to get access to the console. It's much like you know, the VM is we have something similar like a server, and imagine that in the server you have a VGA adapter in which you plug a display. That's right, a video display. So it's much like to view exactly the boot process or to view exactly which is the output at this moment by the standard console, right? Well, obviously, because this is a virtual machine, you learn how to view the display with the Oracle VM Manager. But what's happening if the Oracle VM Manager has any kind of problem and you cannot view the console using this web browser, the Firefox, for example, connecting to the Oracle VM Manager? Well, you have the option to view the console, much like you do in a physical server, but you need to implement this. The way that you view the console is with this command, the XL console. Remember, the XL is the new version of the replacement of the XM. So if the serial console access to your virtual machine is enabled, you can access, or you can use this serial console feature. If you can no longer access your virtual machine by using the Oracle VM Manager console, we use the XL console command for troubleshooting purposes. Remember that also you have the XM VNC viewer and the name of the virtual machine. Well, it's something similar to the Oracle VM Manager user interface view console or launch console functionality. Well, in both cases, if the VNC viewer is not working, or for example, in the case that the manager has any kind of issue, you must configure the serial console access in your virtual machine before you can access its content with this XL console command. Well, we show you how to do it. Okay, so configuring the serial console access for Oracle Linux guests, we need to find out first of all if a serial console is already active in your virtual machine. You do this with the dmessage, and we grep, in this case, for devices such as dep ttis x, where x is usually 0. This is for HVM guests, and for PVM guests, the serial console device is dep hbc0. So the steps to configure the console access may include adding a console parameter to the kernel command line in the grep configuration, the bootloader, configuring GATE to set up a serial terminal connection. In this case, this is the device, the console device, the serial console device that you obtained before, and editing the etc secure TTI to allow the root user to log into the serial console. So for example, if a VM has any kind of problem, it, for example, start at run level below S3, for example, as you know that you get access with SSH. So for example, gets hang is not able to move to the run level 3 or higher, you cannot get with SSH, and the VM Manager doesn't give you the option to get with the console. Obviously, you need sometimes to take action, as you know, as root, as super administrator, because for example, maybe the root mount point is not mounted or something like this. So it's much like be able to get access on this, right? Well, and for quits, which statements are true about the BMP Info 3 tool. This tool captures troubleshooting information for the Oracle VM Manager and the selected Oracle VM servers. That's true. You obtain this tool from My Oracle Support. That's not true. Okay, you have this tool already installed, all right? You must install special plugins before running this tool. That's not true. It comes with all the functionality, and the output of this tool is valuable as a troubleshooting tool for Oracle Support and for Oracle VM environment administrators. That's true. Well, that's all for this lesson. So as a summary, in this lesson you should have learned how to locate the major Oracle VM logs and discuss their usage, execute commands to examine the status of the major components of Oracle VM, describe the use of the BMP info and the source report tools, also the use of the OVM tool log, right? Python script, configure the KeyDump for Oracle VM servers, configure the also KeyDump or similar KeyDump functionality for the virtual machines, configure the net console for the Oracle VM servers to help you to send kernel panic messages to a remote server, and also how to configure and access the serial console for the Linux guests. When you have problems with the VM Manager to launch the console, or when you have issues with the Oracle VM guest operating system when it's not able, for example, to get access to critical mount point partitions in where there is operating system library or something like this, and you need to get inside the system as a super super administrator user, without the option to connect remotely. Okay, you need to get local access, no, to the VM. That's all for this lesson. Practice is that one, locate and view important files and logs. In this practice, you view files and execute commands that provide important information when troubleshooting problems in your Oracle VM environment. Tags, the first one, we view important files on the Oracle VM manager host. From your lab machine, open a terminal window and change user to root. We use a SSH command to access your Oracle VM manager host. So we go to terminal, change to the root user, and with SSH OVM mgr01 we connect to the manager. Password is Oracle for the root user. We display the content of the etc sysconfig ovmm file by using the cat command. Well, most of Oracle VM related files are located in the U01 directory. One notable exception is etc sysconfig ovmm. The ovmm file contains the Oracle VM Manager unique universal identifier. If you reinstall the Oracle VM Manager software and the ovmm file still exists, the manager acquires the UUID specified in the ovmm file, which may not be what you want to achieve. If you want to install with a different UUID, you can specify a UUID when running the installer, and this UUID overrides the UUID in the etc sysconfig ovmm file, or you can remove the etc sysconfig ovmm file. This file also contains the name of the default directory where the MySQL database backups are stored, and the name of the command that is used to perform the MySQL backups. You perform a MySQL backup and restore in a practice for the lesson titled Backup and Restore the R concepts. We display the content of the U01 app Oracle ovm-manager-3.config file. Control E, Control L, we clear the screen. So we navigate to the U01 app Oracle ovm-manager3, and with the cat command we view the contents of the .config file. The Oracle VM Manager UUID is also found in this file. This file also contains important web logic and database information such as the name of the database instance, OVS, and the Oracle VM Manager release and build information. Oracle VM 3.4.2 build 1384. Use the exit command to exit your system to the Oracle VM Manager host. Next step, step 2, is to view important files on the Oracle VM server. From your RAM machine, use the SSH command to access ovsvr01.example.com. Password is Oracle. And we now obtain the release information for the Oracle VM server for X86 software by displaying the content of the etc ovs-release file. With the cat command, to display the build number and the list of packages for the Oracle VM server for X86 software, we use the more command with the etc ovs-info file. Well, the etc ovs-info file contains a list of packages specified to the Oracle VM software for X86 software. We'll scroll down. You will get the OBS summary and also the OBS modified packages. Display the OCFS2 cluster information on the Oracle VM server. Step number 3. Note an Oracle VM server can belong to only one cluster. Control O, we clean up the screen And with the cat command, we view the contents of the etc ocfs2 cluster.com file. Because your Oracle VM server is part of a cluster subpool, the etc ocfs2 cluster.com file contains information about the cluster and the Oracle VM servers or nodes in the cluster. At this time, the cluster contains a single Oracle VM server. You should be able to identify easily in this way. We use the region parameter points to a location in the pool server file system, and the cluster parameter is the OTFS2 cluster ID. You explore OTFS cluster information later in this practice. In the Oracle VM server, if the Oracle VM server is not part of a cluster server pool, there is no etc ocfs cluster.com file, because this file is created initially when you create a cluster server pool. The file is updated when you add or remove Oracle VM server from the cluster server pool. Leave your window 2obsvr01.example.com open. You return to this window in the next tags. Step number 4, we are going to examine the logs on the Oracle VM Manager and the Oracle VM server. So in your lab machine, open another terminal window and change user to root. And use the SSH command to access your Oracle VM Manager host. Password is Oracle. Access the U01 app Oracle OVM-Manager-3 domains, OVM_domain, servers, admin server, logs directory, where the most of the Oracle VM Manager logs reside. With the ls command, we list the contents of the directory. The most important log file is the admin server.log. Use the tail command with the -f option to view new entries to this log while operations are taking place. If you do not have an active season to the Oracle VM Manager user interface, start a new season by performing the following. I'm going to check that I haven't. So on your lab machine desktop, open a new additional terminal window and change user to root. Start a new VNC viewer season to the Oracle VM Manager host or VM MGR01 by using the XM VNC viewer OMVM MGR01 command. Log in to the OVM MGR01 as the root user. Password is Oracle. So now you view the desktop. So from your OVM MGR01 desktop, start a Firefox season. Go to Applications, and we may click the Firefox web browser. Log into the Oracle VM Manager user interface and click the Reports and Resource tabs. We provide the URL https://localhost. Well, we have the history, column 7002 OVM console. Remember, the super administrator is admin, password my Oracle 1. And we may click in Reports and Resources. May click in the Preferences link and change the statistic collection interval from 20 to 40. Click Apply to complete the change. We scroll down and we may click in the Apply button. a message window appears notifying that the change took place immediately. Click on OK to exit the window. In the window log into the Oracle VM Manager, with the tail command running, observe the entries in the admin server.log related to the change to the statistics collection interval. In this one, we should check the entries. So it's much like set a statistic, set a statistics interval on the server. To change to the statistics collection interval was propagated to both the Oracle VM servers as seen in the bolded messages in the previous tail. Using the tail command, view the latest entries in the var log obs-agent.log log file for obsvr01.example.com from your window with the inactive season to obsvr01.example.com. So in this other window, we use the tile -f of the var log obs agent. So you will see also messages about setting the statistics interval. Well, the var log obs agent log file on each Oracle VM server is the main source of information when troubleshooting problems in your environment. This log file is easier to examine than the admin server.log file on the Oracle VM Manager host. However, some actions taken from your Oracle VM Manager do not propagate to the Oracle VM servers because there is no associated operation for the Oracle VM servers. For example, when you create sub-pool policies, the messages about the new sub-pool policies appear only in the Oracle VM Manager log file. Optionally, rediscover the obsvr01.example.com Oracle VM server from the Oracle VM Manager user interface and can examine the log entries for this operation in the var log obs-agent.log file on the Oracle VM server and the u01 app Oracle OVM-manager-3 domains OVM_domains server admin server logs admin server.log file on the Oracle VM Manager host. But prepare to examine the log files from both obm-mgr01.example.com and obsvr01.example.com by running the tail -f command against their main log file. From the Oracle VM Manager user interface, click the Servers and VMs tab. In the navigation pane, right-click obsvr01.example.com and select Rediscover Server from the shortcut menu. View the entries in the log file related to this operation. So we get messages in the admin server.log about finish discovering data server, and we get messages from the u01 in the var log obs-agent.log file. But terminate the tail command by pressing Ctrl+C in the terminal window with an SSH season to OVM-MGR01. This one, Ctrl+C. When troubleshooting problems in your Oracle VM environment, the most important log files are in the Oracle VM Manager, the u01 app Oracle OVM-manager-3 domains, OVM_domain, servers, admin server, logs, admin server.log. In the Oracle VM server, var log obs-agent.log. There are other log files in the Oracle VM Manager host. For example, there is a log file for the CLI command in the same directory where the admin server.log file resides. For a complete list of the log files and their usage, refer to the chapter titled Troubleshooting Oracle VM in the Oracle VM Administrator Guide. In the Oracle VM servers, you can find relevant troubleshooting information in the system log. Var log messages. The messages file is a good source of information for networking and source and storage related problems. In the next practice for this season, for this lesson, you explore iSCSI multipathing and use the system log to verify changes to the multipathing configuration. That's all for practice 6-1. Practice 6-2, run commands to examine the status of storage, iSCSI connections, and OCFS2 clusters on the Oracle VM server. In this practice, you become familiar with several commands and files that can help you access the status of your storage and related cluster configuration. Your Oracle VM environment contains cluster information when you create cluster server pools. Each cluster server pool has its own cluster information, and all the Oracle VM servers share this cluster information in the same cluster server pool. Recall that an Oracle VM server can belong to only one server pool, whether it's clustered or not. For the tags, the first one, we use the blkey ID command to examine block device information on the Oracle VM servers. You can use the blkey ID command to examine the UUID of a block device, its volume level, and the type of file system on the device. If you do not have an active session to obsvr01.example.com, log in as root to obsvr01.example.com by using the SSH command. Well, I have already one open, but I want to show you how to open again. Password Oracle for the root user. Well, after that, we use the blkey ID command. LANs that do not have a file system created on them are not listed. Note that some entries are duplicates. The duplicate entries share the same UUID. For example, dep mapper, the number for the device, dep SDE are the same device. The volume level is therefore the same. The bold screen text in the both codes box show these entries. You can cross-reference with the physical disk listing from the Oracle VM Manager user interface or the Oracle VM CLI. From the Oracle VM Manager user interface, you can find physical disk LANs information in the following manners. Select an Oracle VM server from the Servers and VMs tabs. Display the physical disk of this server from the physical disk perspective. And for each disk, click the span button to display the disk ID, the page 83 ID, and the var dep mapper path. You can get similar information from the Storage tab. Select a SAN server, select the physical disk perspective, and for each disk, click the span button to display this information. From the Oracle VM CLI, we use the list physical disk command to get a list of LANs, and then use the show physical disk ID equals to the disk ID for more information, including the dep mapper path and page 83 ID information. There is no cluster ID information in the output of the blkey ID command. In the next tags, you use the mount d.ocfs2 command that provides cluster information. So in practice number 2, we use the step number 2, we use the mount.ocfs command to examine OCFS file system present on the Oracle VM server. Note the OCFS file system present on the Oracle VM server belonging to a clustered server pool include the server pool file system, OCFS2 base repositories, and OCFS file systems located on LUNs assigned and controlled directly by virtual machines. So in your SSH session to obsvr01.example.com, we issue the following command, mount d.ocfs2. Okay, wait a moment. Pause. I have a typo. Basically, you need to remove this. Okay. I show you. I before typing this command, I've been in this way. Yeah. Okay. So you need to cut this from this to the command with the error. Yeah. And now you need to resume here. Yeah.
Okay. Just say resume when you're ready.
Yeah, resume. Well, the output of the mount d.otfs command shows information about all OTFS2 file systems, whether they are mounted or not. The cluster ID appears in the cluster column. The output contains file system for 2 clusters. Cluster ID with this number for the pool 1 subpool, and cluster ID with this other number for the pool 2 subpool. This cluster ID is different in your lab environment. Because both Oracle VM servers, OVSVR01 and OVSVR02, access the same storage, each server sees the storage controlled by the other server. To which cluster does OVSVR01.example.com belong? Well, we have the reply for this question. In the OVSVR01.example.com, we display the cluster ID for OVSVR01.example.com by using the grep command to extract the cluster information from the etc otfs2 cluster.com file. Note you examine the cluster.com file in the task tree of the first practice for this lesson. Looking at the output of the mounted.otfs2 command, you can locate the OTFS file systems that are active for the cluster to which OVSVR01.example.com belongs. These file systems are labeled with cluster ID, the number. They can be mounted in OVSVR01.example.com. The other file system labeled with the other cluster ID cannot be used in OVSVR01.example.com. Like for the blkey ID command, there are duplicate entries in the preceding display. There are only 2 OTFS file systems controlled by the pool 1 subpool in OVSVR01.example.com. The subpool file system shown as dep sdb and dep mapper and the number, and OTFS repository shown as dep sde and dep mapper and the other number. Note your dep sdx entries may be different. When you troubleshoot problems accessing repositories or reclaiming repositories after a reinstallation of the Oracle VM Manager software, you can use the mounted.otfs command in conjunction with the etc otfs2 cluster.conf file to verify the status of the cluster resources. In the practice for the lesson titled Backup and Restore the R concepts, you reinstall your Oracle VM environment and must deal with the cluster ID of the existing repositories to bring the repositories back into the environment. Step number 3, we use the multipath command to display multipathing information. With the multipath -ll command, you can gather multipathing information from the device mapper program and other available sources on the Oracle VM server. Important, you can use the multipath command to identify devices with multiple paths. Make sure that you use this command to display only by using the -l or -ll options. In your SSH session to OVSVR01.example.com, display multipathing information. This output displays multipathing information for the 5 LANs exposed by the iSCSI SAN server. Each device has only one access path. We use the iSCSI admin -m node command to examine the device paths for the LANs exposed by the iSCSI server. There are 2 targets, TGT1 and TGT2. Use the service iSCSI status command to view the LANs are offered by the target. There are 5 iSCSI loans. 3 loans are offered by one target and the other 2 loans are offered by the second target. Note, use iSCSI IDM -M node or iSCSI -M season to view iSCSI target information. Do not use the login or logout option of the iSCSI admin command to manually log in to iSCSI target. You must carry out all storage operation from the Oracle VM Manager or the Oracle VM CLI. And that's all for practice 6-2. Practice 6-3, gather troubleshooting information about your Oracle VM environment for support. In this practice, you run the VMP Info3 tool to gather troubleshooting information about your Oracle VM environment. The VMP Info3 tool captures messages, send them on logs, the message, OVS-agent logs, XML models, and other information from Oracle VM Manager and Oracle VM servers. You run the VMP Info3 tool when Oracle support requests this information for troubleshooting a problem in your environment. You can, however, run this tool to document the state of your environment prior to an upgrade, after the upgrade, and before and after every major change to your environment as a way to document its state. For the task, first of all, we run the VMP Info3 tool from your Oracle VM Manager host on your lab machine, log into your Oracle VM Manager host. Open the terminal window and change directory to the tools directory, which is U01 app Oracle OVM-manager-3 OVM_tools support, and list its contents. Use the help feature with the VMP Info3 tool. We type /VMP info3.sh /help. What you get the basic uses for all the servers, the username, the servers, or for example, getting information about additional servers for this. Well, run the tool to list the available servers. You provide the admin username and the subcommand list servers. You are prompted for the admin password, which is my Oracle 1. We provide the password, my Oracle 1, and we get the list of servers, OVSVR02 and OVSVR01. We run the VMP info3.sh script for OVSVR01.example.com. Now the VMP info3.sh script takes approximately 6 minutes to complete your environment. Let the tool continue its processing and go directly to the next task, task 2. Where you examine the content of a VMP Info3 report that is stored in the stage directory on your Oracle VM Manager host. So we'll repeat the command, but in this case, for the servers OVSVR01.example .com. We provide the password for admin, my Oracle 1. Well, in the messages from the VMP Info3 tool, you use that, or you see that on that, and also report is run for the Oracle VSVR01.example.com Oracle VM server. The source report utility collects information about a system, such as hardware configuration, software configuration, and operational state. It is part of the Oracle Linux distribution. The source report utility records the information in a compressed file, which is included in the VMP info3 report, which is also in a compressed tar file format. The final VMP info3 report is stored in the /tmp directory as a compressed tar file with a name containing the Oracle VM release and build information and date and time information, for example, VMP info 3.1.1036-0921-205224.tar.gz. We examine the output of the VMP info 3 tool. Note for this exercise, use the VMP info report that is already stored in the state directory on ovm-mgr01.example.com. If you do not have a login season to ovm-mgr01.example.com, store a new one by using the following command. Well, we already have one. So we may click in not listed, we provide the username root, and the password is Oracle. We'll open a terminal window and switch to the stage directory. Right button, open terminal, or for example, in applications, utilities, usually we have the option to get access to the terminal. Well, here we go to the stage directory and we list the files containing the VMP string. Note this VMP info 3 report has been collected earlier. Your VMP info 3 utility run is most likely still executing. List the files in the compressed tar file by using the tar command with tar set tbf for the VMP info. We list the files. In the listing of files for the VMP info 3 report, you can see log files for the Oracle VM Manager, the source report for Oracle VM Manager for which an MD5 checksum has been generated as a separate file in the /tmp directory, a dump of objects in the database in XML format, a .bset2 type compressed tar file for each Oracle VM server selected on the VMP info3.sh command line. When you use the tar command to extract file, it creates a directory to store the extracted files. You can therefore uncompress and extract files directly in the /state directory. Extract the files from the VMP info 3 report in the step number 3. Use the tar command to extract the files. Access the directory that was created by the extract operation and list its contents. Access the directory for the ovsbr01.example.com and list its contents. Extract files from the tar.xset file generated for the server. Extract the files from the tar.xset file that generated, and the extract operation creates a new true file. We extract the files from the .tar file with tar Now we list the files in the new directory created by the extraction operation. you can use the find command to find particular items in the VMP Info3 report and associated source report files. Use our browser season to examine the contents of the source report for obsvr01.example.com in the VMP Info3 report. From your SSH season to ovmgr01.example.com, display the current directory. And from your SSH session from ovmgr01.example.com, start Firefox. In the URL file, we need to enter the file and the directory displayed in the previous step. From this location, you can browse the contents of the information gathered from obsvr01.example.com. Click the source report -mxoy set u the number directory shown on the browser page. Examine the content of the source report for obsvr01.example.com by clicking files or directories shown on the browser page. For example, click the IP_ADDR link and the output of the IP_ADDR show command is displayed. The source report utility collects system information by using plugins. For more information about the source report utility, refer to the source report Linux main page. Terminate your Firefox season to the VMP Info3 report by closing the tab. Step number 5, verify that the VMP Info3.ssh has completed successfully by examining the file created in the /tmp directory. So in your active season to ovmgr01.example.com, change directory to /tmp and verify the presence of the file created by the VMP Info3 utility. So we go back here, you get the output, and we verify the presence of the file. Now we exit your SSH season to Oracle VM Manager by using the exit command. And that's all for practice 6-3. Practice 6-4, return your environment to a single SEBA pool configuration. In this practice, remove obsvr02.example.com from the pool 2 SEBA and destroy pool 2. Then add obsvr02.example.com to the pool 1 SEBA pool and start a virtual machine to ensure that the environment is working properly. Assumption: this practice assumes that the obsvr01.example.com Oracle VM server is part of the pool 1 SEBA pool. The obsvr02.example.com Oracle VM server is part of the pool 2 SEBA pool. The _repos1 repository belongs to the pool 2 SEBA pool, and the _repos2 repository belongs to the pool 1 SEBA pool. If your environment is different, you may have to make some adjustment to the tags in this practice. For further step, we need to start a season to the Oracle VM Manager user interface. Note if you have an active season to the Oracle VM Manager user interface, continue with the next tags. Well, I'm going to verify this, but we haven't, so Okay, this is the VNC viewer. Let's do it. Okay, you get this message, means that the Firefox is already running, but it's not responding. Okay, no problem about this. If you have this kind of issue, remember, we need to go to, I'm going to start closing Windows. So now I have closed all the windows. We're going to repeat the execution of the command, and this is the season that we need to quit because it's open. Okay, good. So now we are able to repeat the command and we get this. And then remember, we type https://localhost and we get access to the history to get log as admin my Oracle 1 to the Oracle VM's manager console. Well, step number 2, we release the ownership of the ISCSI_repos1 repository from the pool2 subpool. So we may click in repositories tab. In the navigation pane, we click the spam button next to the repositories folder. And we select the ISCSI_repos1 in the navigation pane and verify that the repository belongs to pool2 by displaying the information for the repository. So we verify this. We right click the ISCSI_repos1 and select edit from the shortcut menu. And click the release ownership checkbox and click OK. 2 jobs are submitted. The first job presents the repository from obsvr02.example.com, and the second job releases the ownership information from the repository. Well, next step is to access to the obsvr02.example.com from your LAN machine by using the SSH command. We open a new terminal. And we issue the mounted d.ocfs2-d command to display the cluster ID information for available OCFS2 file system. Well, I'm going to reduce the font size to get a real table. Well, the file system with not in use in the cluster field in the repository whose ownership just released. The file system is no longer mounted to obsvr02.example.com. So you see we have this. Step number 3, we delete the pool2 subpool from the Oracle VM Manager user interface. We may click the servers and VMs tabs. we display the virtual machines assigned to pool 2 by selecting pool 2 in the navigation pane and selecting virtual machines from the perspective drop-down list. Kill the ruling virtual machine nfs_pvm1 by selecting in and then selecting kill from the toolbar. So we select this and we select kill. We click OK in the confirmation window. Note that you have additional virtual machines belonging to pool 2. They are still running. Stop or kill those now. Move all virtual machines in pool 2 to the unassigned virtual machines folder by selecting the virtual machines in the management pane and dragging them to the unassigned virtual machines folder in the navigation pane. Notes: recall that after selecting all virtual machines, the cursor must have the shape of an arrow for the drag and drop operation to succeed. If you have difficulty in moving all the machines in at a time, you can drag each one individually, or you can use the migrate operation. So we are using this one with the shift key. We select all together, and now we perform the operations. You see that virtual machines can only be moved to a sub pool or an assigned virtual machine. So you repeat exactly the same step. Next step is right-click pool 2 in the navigation pane and select delete from the shortcut menu. The steps that will be executed as part of the delete operation are listed in the confirmation window. We are going to remove the server from pool 2 and delete the server pool 2. Click OK to launch the delete operation. So the delete operation triggers several jobs. So you will see here the different jobs that are being executed. Next step is to add the obs vr02.example.com Oracle VM server and repository resources to the pool 1 server pool. We select the pool 1 in the navigation pane and we click the edit server pool icon in the toolbar. We may click on the servers tab and we move obsvr02.example.com from the list of available servers to the list of selected servers. We press the left arrow key, and after that we may click on OK to complete the operation. The cluster information is updated for obsvr01.example.com and cluster information is created for obsvr02.example.com. The server pool file system is mounted in obsvr02.example.com. The pool 1 server pool has 2 members in it. Well, you see that it's running the jobs, and you see that now after this finish, pool 1 has 2 Oracle VM server pools. We may click the repositories tab with show my repositories selected. The list of currently owned repositories appears in the left pane. Select show all repositories to display the list of all available repositories, including those that are not owned by any server pool. Right-click the _repos1 in the navigation pane and select edit from the shortcut menu. In the edit repository window, select take ownership. Select the server pool 1 as the server pool and may click on OK. This operation updates the cluster ID information in the repository to match the cluster ID information for the pool 1 server pool. It also presents the repository to the Oracle VM servers in the server pool automatically. Select the Show My Repository options to list all the repositories. So now appears all of them, even the _repos1 that before doesn't appear. Step number 5, we move the virtual machines from the unassigned virtual machines to their new server pool 1. From the Oracle VM Manager user interface, click the Servers and VMs tab. examine the virtual machines assigned to pool 1 subpool by selecting the virtual machines perspective in the management pane. All the virtual machines are still in the unassigned virtual machines folder. Click the unassigned virtual machines folder in the navigation pane. All virtual machines are in this folder. Select all virtual machines in the management pane and drag them to the pool 1 subpool. Note, recall that after selecting all virtual machines, the cursor must have the shape of an arrow for the drag and drop operation to succeed. If you have difficulties moving all the virtual machines at the time, you can drag each one individually, or you can select each virtual machine in the management pane and click the migrate icon. Select subpool, pool 1 as the target and click OK. Well, I'm going to do the step with the drag and drop option. Well, after that, we click the pool 1 subpool to verify that the virtual machines are visible for this location. So now you see virtual machines is not empty, has all. Start the ISCSI_PBN1 virtual machine. So we select the ISCSI_PB1 virtual machine in the management pane and click the start icon on the toolbar. The virtual machine starts on either obsvr01.example.com or obsvr02.example.com. In this case, it started in this practice in obsvr02.example.com. And that's all for practice 6-4. Practice 6-5, configure the serial console for a PBN guest. In this practice, you configure the serial console access for a virtual machine. And this is a useful step for troubleshooting a virtual machine when you cannot access it by using the console feature offered by the Oracle VM Manager user interface. In many cases, virtual machines are created without a serial console configured. The steps in this practice configure serial console access for a PVM guest running Oracle Linux 6. The steps are different for configuring serial console access to a HVM guest or for a guest running earlier releases of Oracle Linux. After you configure this access, you can use the XM console or XL console command from the Oracle VM server running the virtual machine to access the console for that virtual machine. You can also use the serial console available through the Oracle VM Manager user interface. Assumptions in this practice: you configure serial console access for the ISCSI_PVM virtual machine, PVM1 virtual machine, with hostname set as ISCSI_PVM1.example.com. Recall that you installed the Oracle VM guest editions for this virtual machine and that the OVM daemon is running. You can therefore examine the IP address assigned to this virtual machine from the Oracle VM Manager user interface of the Oracle VM CLI. Tags attempt to use the same console to access the ISCSI_PVM1 virtual machine from your Oracle VM Manager user interface season. Determine where the ISCSI_PVM machine is running. In this case, in VM servers and VM tabs. Expand subpools, pool 1. Perspective drop-down list virtual machines. We check that the ISCSI_PVM1 is running. In the following example, the virtual machine is running on obsvr02.example.com. We use the SSH command to access the obsvr02.example.com or the obsvr01.example.com is in the other case. So if we already have open a season, much like this one, or if not, remember, after you get logged into your lab host as root, we are able to get access in this way. Password Oracle. Well, we display the list of virtual machines running on obsvr02.example.com with the XML list. In addition to domain 0, there is only one virtual machine running on obsvr02.example.com. This is the ISCSI_PBN1 that you started in the previous practice. Access its console with the XL console command and specify its domain ID. In this example, the domain ID is 2. Your domain ID may be different. In my case, you see that also my domain ID for this example is 2. So with the XL console, I provide 2. Well, the console is blank, so we need to press Ctrl plus close bracket to exit the console. Optional, in the Oracle VM Manager user interface, access the serial console for ISCSI_PBN1. So we go to the Mozilla Firefox web browser. If we get access to the serial console, launch serial console, you will see that also the console is blank. So we exit from the serial console. Well, this means that this functionality is not working, is not implemented. Well, we need to locate the IP address for the ISCSI_PBN1 and access this virtual machine by using the SSH command. Access the Oracle VM Manager user interface, click the Servers and VMs tab, and display the list of virtual machines assigned to the pool 1 subpool. Pool 1, Perspective Virtual Machines. I will get this. Well, we examine the IP address assigned to the ISCSI_PBN1. We may click on the Span button next to its name. We may click on the Networks tab. And here, if we scroll right, you get the IP address. Well, your IP address may be different. In my case, it's this one, 192.168.1.253. So in a terminal window on your LAN machine, as a user root, log into the ISCSI_PBN1 by using the SSH command and the IP address that you located in the preceding step. So you open up new terminal, you change root, well, remember that the password was cangetin as set up in previous practices. Well, now we need to modify the boot group.conf file for ISCSI_PBN1. So we access to the boot group directory for the ISCSI_PBN1 and we make a backup copy of the group.conf file. The backup is called group.conf_orange. Now we edit the group.conf file by adding console equals HBC0 to the first default kernel line. If you are using the B command, we execute this one, bgroup. And for the first kernel entry, this one, we append, and after quiet, we add console equals HBC0. Well, another one is to use the set command with the entries that you have in the activity guide. Well, after that, we can use the difference utility, the diff utility, the diff command to verify your change. Well, with escape column W key Q, we save, and with the diff group underscore orange with the group. Okay, you will set that it is this console as the difference between the original and the new one. Step number 5, we modify the etc secure tty file for the ISCSI_PBN1. So we go to the etc And here we create a copy, a backup of the secure TTY as secure TTY underscore original, and we edit the secure TTY file by adding the entry HBC0 as the last line of the file. If you are using the v command, we use v. And as the last line, we add the HBC0 as the last line of the file. If you are using the echo command, for example, you can use the echo HBC0 and redirect the output to the secure TTY. Well, we escape, we use column WQ, and now we can use the diff command again to find the differences, and that's all. We leave the terminal syson to iscsi_pvm1 active. Step number 6, we'll reboot the iscsi_pvm1 from a terminal window on your LAN machine. You access to the Oracle VM server where iscsi_pvm is running. So we open a new terminal. And now we execute the xlist command to determine the domain ID for the iscsi_pvm1. Well, in my case is this one. In this example, the domain ID is 2 for me, but in the activity guide, for example, is 6. Your domain ID may differ. Well, and now from the terminal window accessing the iscsi_pvm1, we execute the shutdown -r command to reboot the virtual machine. So from this one, we execute the shutdown -r now. Well, when iscsi_pvm finish rebooting, reissue the xlist command from the obsvr02.example.com window. Note that the domain ID for the iscsi_pvm1 changes. So we go back here. And we repeat the command. Now you see that for me it changed from 2 to 3, and in the activity guide you see that it changed from 6 to 7. So in this example the domain ID is now 7. Test the serial console configuration from the obsvr02.example.com window. Access the iscsi_pvm1 virtual machine by using the xl console command with the domain ID. In my case, xl console 3. If nothing shows up, press enter key. It may take 30 seconds or less to message appear. So now you see that the message appear. Well, now we could be able, for example, to get logged into the virtual machine. Remember, as root can get in one. So now you get logged. Bring the iscsi_pvm virtual machine to single user mode by using the init1 command. Verify that you are in single user mode by using the who-r command. At this point, you can fix file system or perform tasks that require the system to be cached. Note that you can issue the init1 command from the Oracle VM Manager user interface console, but you lose access to your virtual machine and cannot reestablish the session to the virtual machine. Step number 8, optionally, from the Oracle VM Manager, access the serial console for iscsi_pvm1. Note if you choose not to perform this task, you can resume with the task 9. We're going to do it. We stop the console for the ISCSI underscore PVM1 virtual machine by pressing Ctrl plus close bracket at the Excel console season in obsvr02.example.com or obsvr01.example.com. It depends on where the OVM, the virtual machine, the ISCSI underscore PVM was started. In the Oracle VM Manager user interface, now we select the ISCSI underscore PVM in the list of virtual machines, and we click the Launch Serial Console icon on the toolbar. After the connection to the console is established, press Enter a few minutes to display the console, and you see that you get exactly the same message. So now we could exit the serial console window and restart the serial console season from obsvr02.example.com by using the Excel command with the domain ID for the virtual machine. So we'll repeat again. From the serial console season on obsvr02.example.com, we're going in step number 7 to complete the testing of the serial console operation. So from the serial console season on obsvr02.example.com, bring back the virtual machine to room level 3 by using the init3 command. Now the login prompt appears again, and exit the serial console by pressing Ctrl plus close bracket. Exit, finish. For step number 3, clean up, exit your SSH season to obsvr02.example.com by using the exit command of Ctrl D, and log out from your Oracle VM Manager user interface season and terminate all seasons to obmgr01.example.com. So you could close all of this. We're going to close and finish the season, and we clean up the environment. And that's all for practice 6.5.